Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the TryF podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. So last week we had a pretty lengthy debate about the flat Earth. I think we were going to react to a debate. That was my phone. We were going to react to a debate from somebody else tonight, but Cody had a Christmas party and had to back out, so we're having to change plans. And so what we're doing instead is we are going to react to something we really should have reacted to a couple weeks ago. That's Tucker Carlson's demonic encounter, and we'll start with that. And then, since it's Christmas and we're a new channel and we're shamelessly chasing trends, we're gonna do a history of Santa Claus review. And I'll save my contemptuous thoughts for Santa till
Yay,
later
Santa.
in the podcast. Yeah, yay, Santa. You know, since we break this thing up into 30-minute chunks anyway, later in the week, I'll save my contempt for the introduction of that portion of the podcast. So I guess for now we're going to start off with Tucker Carlson's supernatural experience. But before we get into that, Trevor, how are you today?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm a little scatterbrained. Not sure how coherent I'm going to be tonight, but I'm okay.
Scatterbrained is good for you.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know about that. I don't know. Yeah, no, I have to say for the most part I'm pretty good. Just kind of plugging along, I guess. I really don't have a whole lot to say as far as my mental state, other than just not knowing what to do. So,
we're figuring it out as we go. So.
Yeah. So you had some thoughts about old Tucker Carlson and what happened, so I guess we'll just start right there and get into it. So let me switch us over here really quick.
Yeah, let's get into this video.
All right. So here...
And I've already seen it. So.
You've already seen it? I actually have not watched it all the way through.
Okay.
So this is my first time reacting to it. So let's see how this goes.
Do you think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh yeah, I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism or just...
Nope, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left
Is that right?
claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks.
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. A year and a half ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and I couldn't breathe, and I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in, and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was just in my boxer shorts, and I went and flipped on the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms.
Can you pause it right
and
there?
on my left shoulder.
Hang on a minute.
And they're bleeding.
Wait,
I've got so many computers open I can't remember what to close.
So many computers. I thought you only got one.
Monitors, leave me alone. It's like a starship in here. I
monitors.
can't figure out what I'm doing. So,
Monitors. Oh, okay.
all right, so what's
Anyways.
the issue here, man?
Well, there's not really an issue. Let me just first say I respect Tucker Carlson a lot.
Yeah.
I love the guy. He's all about truth.
Right.
You know, what's true, this is true, and he reports the truth. And I have nothing against the guy whatsoever. I like listening to stories like this one. You know, demonic encounters and testimonials about things like this happening.
Yeah.
But for the first red flag that I've got right there is pretty much everyone else's, as far as I know, encounters when they get scratched. It's just three marks instead of 4. So that was the first red flag, and then I'm not saying that he's not telling the truth by any means, or he might be far-fetching for views or something. But if you, I lost sight of the video itself, but if you scroll down in the description somewhere of the video, there's a link to another website.
My apologies. I had this on the wrong dad blame monitor, and I forgot we're on
That's
share
all right.
screen. That's
So
my
if you-
mistake. So
if
what
you're right
what
there-
website are we doing?
So if you just stay here on the channel and just scroll down
Yeah.
in the description where it says more, there
Okay.
you can click there, and that link, that
All right,
first
let me
link there to watch the full clip.
Hang on
Visit.
a minute. I can't I can't quite show it yet. So there's a link at the bottom of the description.
No, it's at the top.
At the top of the description, I'm mistaken. It says Christianitiesmovie.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go there, it's basically the same. It is the same clip, but this is basically like a whatever you call it. You know how for movies they do like a showing of part of the movie as
yeah, it's a preview.
preview. So this is basically a preview of a full documentary. And I can't wait till the full documentary comes out. But anyways, that was the second red flag. Is he doing it? Is he telling the story because the interviewer asked him, or is he doing it for documentary, things? And it's just his story is just a little different than all the other encounters that I watched and listened to.
Right.
That's just me personally.
Yeah.
There's billions of people on Earth.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm inclined to believe him. The main reason that I believe him is because he said something very interesting. When the guy asked if he was afraid, he was like, "No, I was confused." And I relate to that because we talked about, our stuff back in Halloween. And I remember when this crap started happening to me when I was a kid, I didn't know enough to be afraid at first, right? I was very confused and just kind of not sure what was happening. And so the fact that he used that word specifically, like that describes exactly how I felt when that crap started happening to me. Because you don't if you don't grow up in the what world would you even call it?
Supernatural.
The supernatural. Yeah, if you're not familiar with this stuff and then it starts happening to you, like you don't know enough to be afraid. Like there's no red guy with horns jumping to going, "Hi, I'm Satan. I'm gonna sit on your chest now." There's nothing like that. So it's nothing obvious, and so it's like this brand new set of experiences, and you just don't know enough to really be scared. And finally, it gets bad enough that the being kind of jumps the shark, and you realize it is demonic, and then you start looking for solutions. But there at the beginning, you just don't know. So
Right.
So I don't know.
Yep.
But as for the 4 claws thing, I'm with you. I've heard the whole, like, it's got to be 3 claws, and it's got to be 3 knocks, and it's got to be 330. I don't think there's a hard, fast spiritual rule, like it has to be that stuff. I think they do that stuff to mess with people But I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think it has to be that way, you know?
Well, and I've actually like looked at, like, kind of did my own little personal research on it. If you look at your hand, right?
Yeah.
When you actually claw someone, these three fingers are actually longer than your pinky. So if a normal person claws someone, it's those three main fingers that actually hit. And then you gotta get real deep to get your thumb and pinky in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever clawed him could have had the same length pinky as his other claws, which would make sense.
Yeah, that kind of gets into like the nature of this demonic stuff, though. Like it's really hard to talk about this because it's like you're dealing with entities that don't have a body, and
Not
it's
to
hard.
mention you can't see them unless they want you to.
Yeah, and so it's like, do these things actually have a substance that our brains can't detect? Like maybe there are beings that exist on a different frequency of light that we can't see with our eyes, and maybe they're on the other side of that, and there is actually physically something there. Or is this some kind of entity that exists in the realm of the mind, let's say, but I mean it's real, but it exists in the plane of thought, perhaps. And
Right.
it's like, this is a weird analogy, but it's like the Matrix. You die in the Matrix, you die in real life. It's the kind of thing where it's like they're doing things and your body is reacting as if the thing were there, but it's not actually there. It's like projecting its intentions onto you somehow. I know it
Yeah.
sounds kind of weird, but it's just hard to talk about this stuff because you're dealing with entities that don't exist in the physical, and yet they're interacting with the physical. They're
Yeah.
real. And this is just the debate I've had on, for myself, because on the one hand, like when we talked about what we saw
Yeah.
saw things completely differently. I was seeing like two-dimensional, almost cartoon-like creatures.
Yeah.
And they would show up for just, like, it wasn't a glimpse, but it was like a fraction of a second longer than a glimpse. Like it was just long enough that you knew it was there. And
Yeah.
then once you were looking at it long enough to confirm that it was there, then it was gone. So it was like something like a second, 2 seconds, something like that. It's a two-dimensional cartoon-like image for a second to 2 seconds that would disappear.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if cartoon is the right way. Just oversaturated colors. You know what I mean? Like it didn't look real, but it was oversaturated. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but you were seeing, if I remember correctly, like fog, right?
Yeah. For the most of the time it was fog for me. And then I did have, when I was younger, I thought I would see like actual physical beings, but that was way back when my imagination was wild, and so
Yeah.
it was hard for me to distinguish what was real and not real.
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, I don't know if I told all the stories from when I was a little kid, but it happened in waves for me. Like the first time, like the first round of it, the first thing I ever saw, like in my life, was the Reaper. I told that story back in Halloween. That was the cartoon Reaper with the scythe that walked from one end of the bedroom to the other. It was at the foot of the bed, paced the room. That was the first thing I ever saw in my life, which is pretty dramatic, being the first thing ever.
Yeah.
Second thing was kind of this Lego-like entity. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was it was the weirdest looking creature I have ever seen, and I don't even. Basically, it was just like, oh man, you remember those old wooden toys that they used to make, like the
Oh yeah, I still have one.
yeah, they
somewhere.
had like the cheap head, and then they kind of had the cone cylinder-like body with the really cheap arms,
Yeah.
but they had usually like a cheap hat carved over the head.
Yeah.
It was like that. It was this it was this flippin', it wasn't wood, it looked plastic. But it came in, it had the little cylinder body, the little wooden head with the painted face on it, and then it had like a fedora-like hat on top of it. It comes in, and this happened twice. So once it was a dream, or at least one time I think it was a dream. The first time I think it was real. But it comes in, and it starts banging on my leg. Like it takes those little cheap wooden hands that it had, and it comes up to beside my bed, and it starts hitting my thigh, And
Yeah.
I obviously very confused because I don't feel anything actually hitting me. So I start trying to swipe at it, and my hand goes right through the thing. And I do this 3 or 4 times, and it turns around and goes around the corner of the door in my bedroom. And then in the instance when I think it was a dream, as it was rounding that corner, because it was the exact same thing that happened twice, and the second time, which I think was a dream, as it was rounding that corner, or that bend in the doorway, or going, I guess, turning through the doorway, let's put it that way, it actually morphed from this wooden thing to like this giant black cloak that swooped out of the room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that was a dream the second time. And then after that, aside from the shadow thing years and years later, I would get like those, like what we talked about before, those second and a half glimpses, but it was just long enough for you to know it was real. Where you get like full-blown shadow people. One time it was Greg holding a butcher knife, that kind of thing.
Well, that's creepy.
Yeah, and it was just constant. Like after those first 2 really big dramatic ones, it was just the black shadow things, but it was just constant all the time.
All the
Fraction
time.
of a second, but every night something weird,
Huh.
And so I say all of that to say, you compare my experience to yours,
Yeah,
there's nothing in common.
Yeah,
very,
my
very
first-
different.
My very first encounter was when I was like 2 or 3.
Uh-huh.
But I was just in my room, and I thought I saw a face staring at me through my window. So I got up and ran to my parents' bedroom and jumped in their bed and woke them up. And
Yeah.
my dad, Daniel, he got up, grabbed his gun, and opened the front door and popped off a couple rounds. And he's like, "Ghost is dead. Go back to bed."
I should-
or he said he scared it off or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah. I should add as a point of clarity. I didn't see like walking like things of butcher knives coming towards me every night. Like I guess I should add this clarity point. From then on, well, most of the time it was shadows darting along the walls. Like little things that you'd see long enough to know that were there, but weren't there for like a super long period of time.
Yeah.
So, and you saw a face in the window, which is terrifying. So,
And what was weird is it looked like another one of my cousins.
Oh, it looked like one of your cousins,
that-
really.
Yeah. It's actually Jared's older brother, Michael. Do you remember him?
Jerry's older brother, Michael.
Jared.
Oh, Michael. Yes, I never actually met Michael.
Okay.
I met, obviously me and Jared were friends for years and years, but I don't think I ever met Michael. I mean, we're
Yeah,
still friends,
yeah.
but I just haven't seen him in a while. But,
But,
so there was that. But the point is, the fact that you and I saw such dramatically different things, because obviously, I mean, I believe you. I assume you believe me. But we saw very dramatically different things. There's no pattern there.
no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there has to be a reason for that. Why is there no pattern? That makes me wonder if it's some kind of entity projecting things that will scare the person personally. You know what I mean? Like things that would
Right.
mess with each individual entity.
Like my
Yeah.
spider story.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it's like it's a tailor-made haunting, you might say.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder if that's what's going on. But at the same time, there's been little anomalies that make me think there really is something in the room with you. So, lots of times when this stuff was going on, I would, have instances where my eyes would track with whatever was in the room. There was nothing there. I wasn't seeing anything. But it was just like when somebody throws a ball or an object at you and your eyes automatically, track the motion. It was the same thing.
Whatever that was.
Yeah, you could track the motion of the thing in the room, but there was nothing there. And that always made me feel like there actually was something in the room. So I go back and forth. I don't know if these things actually take some kind of space or exist in some kind of plane, or if it's purely, I guess you would say, maybe like a thought-based entity that projects stuff that would bother you personally. I don't know. But I guess I say all that to say, when you're talking about those kinds of entities where you don't even know if they actually are physical in the sense that they take up some kind of space, I mean, it could give 4 scratches, it could give 17 scratches, it could give 3. I think the numbers are just kind of random. That, or they're attributed to some kind of symbolism,
Yeah, like they're trying to make fun of the Trinity or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Because it just, I don't think they're certainly not physical the way we are.
Yeah.
But what kind of space they adhere to and what kind of forms they can take, I really don't know. Like, I just don't have any clue about how any of that would work. So, of course, there's always a possibility that we're both just insane. But
Thank you.
yeah. So that's just something that's always, I think about that. But but the big tell for me that made me kind of believe Tucker Carlson was the fact that he said he was confused, because I remember that confusion. Like, you just didn't. Like, I'm mainly talking about the sleep paralysis stuff. Like, when they start like actually attacking you and you're not just seeing something, like that's so confusing.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Don't like it when it happens.
Yeah, I don't need to repeat it. So, all right, let's go ahead and finish this here. So let me make the transition.
We're finishing.
Yeah.
They were bleeding.
They're bleeding, yeah. They're actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails. And they didn't fit my hands anyway. But yeah, that happened. So I'm not from a world where things like that happen. I never heard of anything like that happening before. I had no idea what that was. I knew it was spiritual immediately.
You did? Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yeah. I don't understand to this day. I'm not going to put it.
You didn't try to refute the spiritual part in your own mind. You went right into the.
Well, it didn't make any sense, and it doesn't now. But I'm not from a, what do they call it, faith tradition that talks about things like that or even acknowledges their existence. Like, there's nothing like that. I've never heard anybody say anything like that in my whole life.
What was the next day like?
Well, the next morning I woke up and I thought, that was the weirdest dream I've ever had. And then I saw blood on my sheets and I realized that was not a dream at all. So I called my assistant, who was like the only evangelical Christian I know, well enough to call with something bizarre like that, totally bizarre like that. And
I never bled. I can say that much. I never bled. Never had anything like actually scratch me or do anything that intense to me.
Yeah.
So, take it you haven't bled either, sir.
I don't have anything that I can recall where I bled, but there's stuff from a more personal nature, but that's for
Gotcha.
another story, another time.
Gotcha.
So.
All right, we'll keep going then.
she said, oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, people are attacked in their bed by demons. What? What are you even talking about? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not leaving anything out, and I'm not pretending to understand that. I can only say what happened to me, and that did happen to me. And then I was seized with this very intense desire to read the Bible, which I then started without any study aids or anything. I bought a Bible that didn't have any. I'm not interested in editorializing in the Bible. I just want to read it and see what's in there myself. I have very low levels of trust for Christian pastors, most of whom, I'm just not a fan at all. And sorry to say that, but that's how I feel. And so I don't want to hear other people's opinions. I just want to see what's in there. And so I spent 1.5 years reading it, and then I started rereading it. And it was just a transformative experience for me, but I'm not, holding myself out as some.
That is something we need to point out. And it's one of the more depressing things about being a Christian, is you would think that when this stuff happens, and it happens to a lot of people from what we understand, you would think the church would be the people to go to. They'd be the go-to source for all this sort of stuff. But really, most of the time, you don't get a lot of answers from them.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the passage. My people will, I think it was Jesus talking about it, where he said, my people will suffer from lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And personally, I believe this is what he was talking about, was the supernatural realm, if you will. The lack of knowledge of it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a fear of evil. And that bothers me if that's the case, because we shouldn't be afraid of evil. I said it in the previous episodes, I'll say it again. They're really cockroaches once you understand what you're dealing with. Like, they're not, like, compared to the name of Jesus Christ, they're not anything. You know, you say Christ's name, they're done. Like, you can't. If you're a Christian and you have the authority to use his name,
Yeah.
you know, they're not like, dualism is nonsense. Like, they're not equal countervailing forces to the good.
Yeah.
And once you understand that, and you're able to, you understand that you can rebuke them, you have the authority to rebuke them because you are a Christian, goes away pretty fast. And after having to deal with that kind of stuff at my own place several times, I mean, we haven't had supernatural, like, stuff I would consider outright supernatural stuff in years, at least in my household, and it still takes, there's still other things that kind of you could say might be supernatural, like dreams and stuff. We talked about a dream earlier today, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as far as like demonic entities, slamming cabinets, stomping around and all that nonsense, orbs, I mean, really...
Poltergeist activity.
Yeah, I mean, really, there hasn't been anything like that in a very, very long time. Unless you want to count the creepy alien lights, which I don't know what they are. They could be drones. I kind of think the military's got a bunch of drones. I don't know if you've been on Twitter or not, but there's just like all sorts of footage of lights moving and beeping and bopping around the sky, just all over the place.
Drones.
Yeah, I think it's drones, man. I think it's drones. I think the government's just messing with people at this point.
Oh yeah, they can create all types of drones however they want to.
Yeah.
And then they're, what's it called, where they can project certain lights
Holograms.
Well, not just holograms, but they can project lights for miles and images for miles up in the sky.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then some of the videos coming out, it just winds up being somebody flying a kite with little lights on it.
Yeah, I think
Which
there's
is
a lot
pretty funny.
of chicanery going on right now. But anyway, I guess we need to stay focused on the supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't. The thing that gets you into trouble is ignoring it and pretending like it's nothing.
Which,
Or going out and graveyarding, which is stupid.
excuse me, sorry.
You're all right. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
graveyarding is fun.
Yeah, if you don't want to sleep for like a month. It's horrid. Yeah, I mean, like, you can either borrow trouble or ignore the trouble, and that'll just create more of it. But once you acknowledge what it is and you ask Christ for his help, that begins the process of making sure it goes away.
Well,
It could be a long process, but that process does begin.
I will say this. It depends on your heart posture. Because if you just say, in Jesus' name, get out, sometimes they'll just laugh at you and say, no, your heart's not in the right place. I can do what I want.
That's when I just repeat myself. My thinking was, well, my heart will get in the right place eventually if I just keep jabbering. So,
Yeah.
And you don't like it. You don't like hearing that name over and over again. So,
No.
that's one of the
Well,
reasons I always played like Christian music in the house too. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get you to leave, but I can get you to hate being here. So, anyway. So I guess we ought to finish up Tucker Carlson's video and move on. So hang on here.
Okay.
one from whom you could get theological advice because I'm
Sure,
not.
of course.
I mean, I don't know. I don't understand any of it. But yeah,
Do you
that
think
happened.
God
to me.
allowed the demon?
I have no idea what happened. All I know is I was dead asleep with my wife and dogs, and I woke up with claw marks on my rib cage underneath my arms, and it didn't even make sense. My arms would, anyway, whatever. I'm not, no one has to believe me. I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
But that happened to me, and so I just was like, wow, that's real. Whatever that is, I'm even not sure what it is.
It's
But
very real. And so then that presence of that evil
yeah.
launches something.
Okay, so I guess that's the ad. So, alrighty, hang on a minute here. So that was Tucker Carlson's story.
Yeah. Like
Trevor.
I said, I
Sorry.
can't wait for. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask if
can't-
you had any final thoughts, and you jumped right into it. So,
Yeah, I can't wait for the full story and documentary to come out. I'm super excited about it.
yeah, I mean, I'd be curious as to what it's about.
And I went back and because that video's a month old now.
Yeah, we're getting at this a little late. We should have hit this a while ago.
Yeah.
So,
But I've been kind of trying to watch and see when it comes out, but it's on their
okay.
main website. So
All
I
right.
forgot what it's called.
I don't know either. Hang on a minute. We should probably do a plug for it since it was called
Mentioned it.
Christianity's Movie. Not Christie's Movie. Shut up, Google.
There was no space in it. So it was
Christianity's. Here we go. Movie Tucker.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do a plug for it. Come on, give me an ad. You're so good about ads all the other times except when I need you. Google.
Well, Google doesn't want us seeing it, so.
I guess not. All right. So let's see. Give me a link. Here we go. All right.
Right
If
there.
you want to find out more, ladies and gentlemen, go to christianitiesmovie.com/home. And I'll give you a good place to start. All
There you
right. So I know this is a live stream, but we break these things up into smaller chunks throughout the week. So I'm going to end the first episode here. So guys,
Bye.
thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Now, Trevor, you can say bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Adios. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.